We love a good trend. If you go back to the beginning of last year, one of the trends that was supposedly happening in Australia was following the American trend of the Great Resignation. All of these people who were changing jobs post the pandemic. Turned out that was a little bit of a furphy. We weren't seeing the same level of shift and churn and turnover that other countries experienced. The next trend that hit our shores towards the end of the year was quiet quitting. It's that practice where employees stop or quit doing more than they're paid for. There were a plethora of articles about it towards the end of the year, and some of them with some really helpful insights. One from Arianna Huffington, where she was writing about quiet quitting isn't the solution to burnout and workplace stress. Couldn't agree with her more. That it's really important for us to find purpose and meaning in the work that we do. Jack Zenger and Joseph Folkman, who were writing in the Harvard Business Review, were highlighting research which they've conducted over many, many years, showing that leadership is at the root of quiet quitting. They found that the least effective managers had 3 to 4 times more people who were quietly quitting as compared with leaders who were effective. To me, all of this is just a reminder that leadership matters. It has, and it always will matter. How people are treated by their bosses impacts how they perform. Now, all of this means talk about quiet quitting. It's not new. It's been around for a really long time. People don't like to be unfairly treated. If someone believes that they're working harder than someone else but getting paid less, they're going to be unhappy. Now, we'd commonly see this as fairness, but in research terms, it's known as equity theory. And there was this great book written many years ago called Bad Apples: How to Identify, Prevent and Manage Negative Behaviour at Work, written by two gentlemen, Furnham and Taylor. What they talk about is how equity theory is concerned with outputs and inputs, but as they're perceived by the people involved, not how they actually are. It's the perception that matters. So in practice, a situation may not be unfair, but it might be perceived to be unfair. What equity theory shows us is when that balance, that perception of that balance of fairness is out of kilter in some way, the person who feels that they're being unfairly treated is going to find a way to restore the balance. Now, how they do that is going to vary. It could be that they're less productive. They might take more sick leave. They may even go so far as to commit fraud, because what they're trying to do is find a way to fix that inequity. Now, if you're in a leadership role, you play a crucial role in ensuring that there's fairness in processes, in the system, in how things are managed and operating at work. You play a role in ensuring that your team members are fairly paid, that there's an equitable allocation of reward and recognition. Great leaders recognize and see the value and the difference that people bring to their roles. They recognize that everyone's unique and everyone has different needs, and they work to bring the best out in people around them. And they do that in a way where people feel valued, respected, and crucially, fairly treated. Now, there's another layer to this conversation, because yes, leaders play a role in all of this. But if you're in the position of the person who's thinking of quietly quitting, I'd kind of go, let's think about that. Let's unpack that a little bit more. Because sure, I love a bit of quiet time, and having quiet time is important. But when things at work aren't working, being quiet doesn't help. Being quiet is at the root of all toxic cultures. When people are quiet, the bad issues go underground. The bad leader, the bully manager just gets away with it. The good people, they leave. Their working environment just eventually erodes and corrodes. It impacts performance, outcome, organizational performance. It also impacts individual and collective mental health and well-being. So as a leader, You want your team members to not quietly quit because you want them to tell you how it really is. You want them to tell you how they feel and what's going on. Now, they're only going to do that if you're creating an environment that is psychologically safe, an environment where it feels safe to share how they feel and where they know they're not going to be punished for speaking up, where giving genuine feedback isn't seen as a CLM or a career limiting move, as it was once labelled in an organisation that I worked for. You want to know if your team members aren't happy, because if they're not happy, they could leave. You might lose talented performers. If you're in the role of team member, you really want to challenge yourself, because if you're staying in a role and just doing the bare minimum, that's not good for your mental health and well-being. It's also not good for your reputation. Now, quiet quitting might give you a little bit of headspace to work out what comes next, but you really want to ensure that you're not doing the bare minimum for too long, because over time that is going to impact your self-esteem and your reputation. You want to find a way for this to work for you. No one wins when people feel like the only way to survive their working environment is to quit quietly. We need more, not less conversations about what's working and what's not working. And we need more, not less connection and engagement. So if you're at work and you're thinking about quietly quitting, who should you be talking to? And if you're a leader and you don't know how your team are feeling, well, then you have some talking and some conversations to get involved with. Take care. Have a great week.